less force, more skill. And you might be able to do things that you never thought you could. Who knows? Hi everybody, it's Leanne Scott from MOVE Therapies here in Osoyoos, British Columbia, Canada. And I have popped on here alone to do a quick little video, quite honestly, because, well, it's a thing about me. So I was going to say something to do with the space in the room, but no, it's because it's something that is directly to me. So I'm going to speak to you privately about it without Dale. We're going to talk a bit of today, see, I'm so used to speaking for the two of us. I'm going to talk a bit today about squatting. This may seem like a kind of irrelevant thing. People say, well, squatting, I can't even bend over and pick up something. Squatting's like the last thing I can do. But what I have found as my years as a movement therapist and in my training and during working with clients is that gaining my squat, I can now squat, yeah, we'll talk about it. Gaining my squat has actually helped with multitudes of other movements. It's made them easier. So, you know, I don't know, chicken the egg, what it is, but yeah, it's actually, if you can kind of get that, a lot of other things will come. So, as a bit of a backstory about this, I was a professional dancer in my youth and early adulthood. But I could never squat. Never, never, never. And if anybody knows anything about ballet, they know that that is something that is really, you work a lot on it in a lot of various different ways at the bar with different movements. But a lot of times just right in the center, you spend a lot of time turning out in ballet and working that turnout. It's a huge part of ballet. So a squat is really mandatory because it, in their words, it made for looser hips, hip flexors, etc. So it was something I could never do. Even though I was a very, very good dancer, I competed at a world level at the age of 11. So like, that's where I was at. And I couldn't do it. And I was always told, you need looser hips, and quite torturous things were actually done to me, knowing what I know now in terms of trying to force me to get a squat. So I made it through my dance career without ever having to squat. I actually injured myself very badly at the end of the dance career. That's in another video. So that kind of getting a squat was never, it was gone. So during my training for the Anat Banyal method, which is the name of the therapy that we practice here at MOVE Therapies, in my training, I got my squat. And I was 47, 48 years old, which is kind of wild when you think about the fact that I couldn't do it at my peak of fitness, typical fitness, body, shape, strength, everything, when I was, 16, 17, 18. So I was trying to figure out what was it about the lessons and about ABM that allowed me to get a squat. And I realized a lot of it has to do with where you put your skeleton in space. And by that I mean, well, I actually might have to show you, which means you're not gonna see it if I do it with my big long sweater on. So you must know that I must really care about everybody, because if I'm willing to take this off for video and show my round bottom and in squat, oh, I can't believe I'm doing this. But it's pretty hard to explain otherwise. So when I say that where I put my skeleton, we spend a lot of time in ABM talking about the relationship between the head and the tush vis-a-vis the spine that lives obviously through and connects both of those. When I was young and trying to do this, with my belly pulled in, which means my pelvis was very tight, which doesn't bode great for loose hips. So that was kind of counterintuitive to pull the belly in. But anyway, I was often told to try to go straight down and keep my head in alignment. And even now, to this day, when I can do it, as soon as I do that, it starts to hurt right away. Straight down does not work. But the second, maybe not second, I can't believe I'm doing this on video. Okay. The second I allow my back to arch, which means my belly has to actually be soft and drop, not pulled in and tight, but soft and drop. And I allow my tush to actually stick out, which you'd think would hurt a hip, but it actually makes it kind of free, even an injured hip. Bear in mind, people, if you've seen my other video, I was in a wheelchair for a year. I was paralyzed from my waist down. I was in the hospital for 11 months. I have a very bad hip injury. Just FYI. So if you tilt the pelvis, let the belly drop, stick the tush out, and allow the head to come forward in space, I can go down into a squat. Now, this may not seem like a huge deal, but when you tried for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of hours to try to do this, it's a big deal. Then coming up, the same thing. I used to be told to come straight up. Like, just doing that didn't feel great. But if I push, not drop my belly, arch my back, and my head comes forward, the weight of the relationship of the tush and head work together to bring the skeleton up without having to yank on the muscles, and thus allowing me to do that. Now, it's complicated, and it's, there's lots more of explaining, but when you use, we don't talk about skeleton ever. I guess I should only speak for myself, but I was in 20 years of dance training, some with the biggest companies in the country, never heard the word skeleton. Stretch, strength. That was it. We only talked about muscles. And now that I've come to learn that the skeleton is a beast, it's a huge system that we rarely talk about in terms of movement and fitness. But if it actually is allowed to move, which in ballet, it's very much held, especially in the chest, which attaches to the spine, rigidifying it doesn't actually help movement. So this is getting long, so I'm gonna, wrap it up. There's lots to learn. And what I'm trying to get across, showing you that on camera, is that it's not all about strength, that it's a lot of times about skill. And knowing that if my head goes a little far forward, there's like a sweet spot as I'm going down, that it just goes boom, and I can drop. And then as I come up, the same thing. There's a sweet spot that my head goes up and lifts my tush up without it being a, that whole thing that I showed you, I should have said that it was easy peasy lemon squeezy, as I say to a lot of my clients. It did not hurt me. It didn't require me, as you could tell, I didn't go like, ugh. I used my skill, my weights in space. There's a lot of talk of judo in this therapy. I used my weights in space. I used skill in order to get up. And that's something that as we age, we actually get more of sometimes. At the very least, we can draw upon skill. We don't always just have to think, oh, well, I don't have that kind of strength anymore. I can't do that. It's not all about strength. And that's why we'll have a lot of people that would be considered elderly come into our clinic and do things that they haven't done in 20 years, roll over in bed, roll and like stand up, a whole bunch of stuff. And they're like, what is going on? I haven't done this, I'm not sure ever. It's because we don't learn about the strength and the skill and the finesse of the skeleton and what it can do to you in terms of movement. So we sacrificed me and my ego to stick my bum out on video to show you that skill matters, and it's really integral, and it can even it can help even people with injuries do things that were typically beyond their scope. I think that's it. Less force, more skill, and you might be able to do things that you never thought you could. Who knows? Okay, so any questions, queries, thoughts? Why would I care if I can squat? All those kind of things. Feel free to reach out. Contact information will obviously be attached, and we're thrilled to explain this work to you. So feel free to reach out. Again, it's Leanne Scott at MOVE Therapies in Osoyoos, British Columbia, Canada. And thanks for watching. And again, my apologies for my bum sticking out.